All right, and we're back to In the Short Rows, and tonight is the final interview of our series, unless something dramatic happens. We have with us tonight candidate for sheriff of Sampson County, Mr. Tracy Jackson. And Tracy is running in a Republican primary against the incumbent sheriff, Mr. Jimmy Thornton. And Tracy came out to our forum at Plainview the other night, and he and Donald Edwards, who represented the Democrat Party, as he'll be facing off whoever wins in the primary. So we're just happy to have one of them with us tonight. And Tracy, we're glad you were able to stop by in the Short Rows with us, and let's chat a little while. Tell us a little bit about you, in case there's somebody that still don't know.
Okay. Thank you, Wayne, for having me. So my name is Tracy Jackson. I'm a Clinton guy. Grew up, born and raised Sampson County. Graduated from Clinton High School. Graduated from the University of Mount Olive. Have a degree in management and organizational development. Bachelor's degree from there. I have an advanced law enforcement certification. I'm a firearms instructor. I'm a rapid deployment instructor. I'm a standardized field sobriety training instructor. I'm a general instructor. So I teach cops how to be cops. Okay. I'm currently the police chief over in the town of Stedman. I'm also an officer with the City of Clinton Police Department, sworn there, reserve. We're allowed in North Carolina to have 2 badges. Okay. So my second one is held at the Clinton Police Department. Married to Natalie. Natalie and I have been married 31 years. 4 children, from ages 27 and 19, 3 boys and a girl, the girl being the baby. We have 2 grandchildren, a grandson and a granddaughter, and another little grandson should be born early April.
Okay, good.
So that's just me. I attend Clinton Community Church, grew up in Clinton. That's the church out by the college. Currently serve on the board there, on the executive board there at the church. I'm involved in that. Coached football at Clinton High School for 10 years, okay, between high school and middle school. So a lot of people still call me coach when you see them. That's just kind of me.
Well, that's good. That's plenty.
Yeah, that's plenty.
That's plenty. That's a busy life.
It is.
When you stop and look back across it.
It is indeed.
You wonder, how did you get it all done?
And raising 4 children and working.
Yeah, they get in
Had
the way.
turkey houses at the time too. So yeah,
oh,
a lot going on. A lot going on.
There is. That's a lot going on. And so you hold 2 badges.
I do.
And I didn't know that was possible, but that's good.
Yeah, in North Carolina, we're allowed to hold 2 certifications. Okay. From December of 2013 until May of 2024, when I took the police chief job, I was actually a sworn deputy. Well, that was kind of where my secondary badge was held at the sheriff's office here. Okay. And when I took the full-time job in Stedman, or was moved to Stedman as police chief, I had to give one up. You know, you can't have 3, I can have 2.
Okay, that's fair.
So I separated from the sheriff's office here, May of 2024, with no issues during that whole time. So.
Good. And how long had you served as a deputy?
Full time, I worked with the sheriff's office full time here for 2.5 years.
Okay.
During that time, there was the rest of the time was part time.
Part time. Okay. Okay. And so now you're over in Stedman as the police chief there.
That's right.
Metropolis.
Yes, it is growing.
It is that.
I like to tell people we're the next apex. It's getting ready to double in size and then double again and double again. The bypass has it coming. So,
well, that 24 project got a lot of hearts fluttering.
Yes, and
then it kind of eased off.
Right.
I don't think it's been quite the boom everyone thought it would be.
It's so Stedman currently has about 600 homes in the city limits, and they've just approved 500 to be built. So it's getting ready to double. In size, and then you see the growth in the western side of our county in Altreville.
Right.
All the houses being built there, so it's coming.
Yes, sir.
It's coming this way, so we just got to get ready for it.
It is. Me, the town councilman, Mr. Tommy Honeycutt, and myself were discussing that very fact just the other day, about the growth in Altreville area and how it's kind of, it's a boon and a blessing. It's a curse and a blessing, I should say. Because the people are moving in, but that's a strain on their resources for added services.
Absolutely. Law enforcement, water, sewer, trash pickup. I mean, it adds to everybody.
Yeah.
It does put a strain on everybody.
As a child, I never dreamed that Altarville would be talking about those kind. I never dreamed that they would have beer for sale, let alone be worried about this. But it's changed a lot. Talking about 24. That's made a straight shot from 95 back to the heart of the county there in Clinton, 4 lanes. I know we talk a lot about I-40 and these corridors, these 4-lane roads that are fast and easy to move down. Have you noticed any pickup on drugs or anything over at Stedman since all that's happened?
So there's drugs everywhere.
Yeah.
If you've got a town who tells you they don't have drugs, gangs, or guns, they're lying to you. I mean, just being real. Drugs are everywhere from small communities to big communities. But growing, yes, it's growing. Okay. You get a lot of traffic, like you said, in that corridor, and the houses growing and people moving in. You know, stuff happens within the town, and you just have to be proactive. You got to stay on top of it.
That's for certain. Well, let's talk about that because you're talking about staying on top of it and be active. Sampson County Sheriff's Department, you are not sheriff yet, so anything we ask is always hypothetical. So what would I do? It's not what have I done, and let's make that clear as we go.
Okay.
I'm not here to jump on Mr. Thornton because he's not here to defend himself.
Absolutely.
So we're just going to talk hypothetically about what's going on and address the questions. Our question is a lot of times up here when we discuss the Sheriff's Department is the budget. Now it's a pretty large budget. It has grown substantially in the last decade. And coupled up with the jail facilities, you know, that's a separate line item budget, is it not?
It is.
And then we, I hate to even bring these guys into it, but we have, the county now runs our rescue system, our rescue squads and all that department. And I guess we could all roll that up as public safety. And it's a pretty significant portion of the county budget just on public safety.
Right.
And not including the fire department taxes, which are additional to what we already pay as property tax.
That's right.
So our budget's pretty heavy right now with that. And we've got a lot of issues. As a candidate, looking at it, I know you've gone through it some. You probably haven't dug really, really deep into a lot of it. But what's some of the primary things you see in the budget that could be that are needed, or some things that could be dropped? What would you do if you had the magic red pen and you could start circling items to give to the commissioners?
Without having it right in front of you is really hard. So the sheriff's office budget between the detention center and the agency, the sheriff's office side, is around $18.5 million this fiscal year, somewhere in there. Over the last 10 years, that's grown about 63%. Mm-hmm. With over $100 million of tax money in the last 10 years going directly to the sheriff's office to fund it. And these are not numbers I'm making up. These numbers are from a Sampson Independent article that was done.
Yes, sir.
Last year. I think it was with last year's fiscal budget. So it did change a little bit this year. Looking at where to cut, there's got to be some places. I don't know if maybe it's vehicles, maybe it's some security issues we could do. The main thing you can't cut is you can't cut anything that benefits your employees. You got to take care of your deputies.
Yeah. You
got to take care of their families. So you can't compromise on their safety. You can't compromise on their money, their benefits. You got to take care of your people. But without having it right here in front of me, it's really hard to tell you, hey, we could cut this line item, we could cut that line item. So, like I said, without having it here, it's really hard. Other than when you do dive into it and you do start looking tight at the numbers, the two things you can't compromise, one being your employees. You got to take care of your employees all the time. Make sure them and their family are taken care of, and you got to take care of safety. Not just for the employees, but for the citizens as well. So what you got to do when you sit down and look at it is you got to try to find a fine line where we can take care of our employees' safety and take care of the citizens' safety while trying to save everybody money.
I agree. I agree.
What everybody would say, trying to get their money's worth, I guess.
Well, that's when you continue to pay a rising tax,
right,
property tax every year. It seems that, you do want a little quicker response time. You do want a little more service. Because I think at one point we had said that there was like 8 deputies on call at any one time.
On patrol,
On patrol.
division, yeah, I'd have to, that's probably about right, 6 to 8 on a patrol squad.
And you say we spend like $100 million in the last 10 years. You know, and we look at that, that's an awful lot of money for a county the size. We're not growing.
No, we're actually losing population.
Exactly.
The last census had us below 60,000, 59 and some change on the last census.
Yes, sir. I mean, we've been at that plateau of about 60,000, give or take, for the last 20 or so years. So, you know, that's where I am with this is, where is that? We see these, and I understand that we have to have new cars and we have new technology. I get that, and it's not cheap. I understand that. You know, who would have thought we pay what we're paying for a telephone to put around on our hip?
Right.
You know,
Who would have thought we'd even have one?
my granddaddy said, "Son, I got one in the bedroom. You could use it. And, you know,
That's
it's free.
right.
You can use that."
That's right.
So he was paying $14 a month or whatever to start a telephone. But yeah, we're concerned about that because we see the budgets in Sampson County just continually rise. And with 130 some odd deputies, I believe, or staff.
Yeah, I would say I think there's close to 100 sworn positions in the sheriff's office, and then the jail staff, maybe 50, so we'll say roughly about 150 employees.
150 or so heads.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good sized department.
Yeah, that's a good size.
It is. And that's a concern that I hear a lot out on the street, at the store, talking to folks, is about the numbers and the budgets. And, you know, it's a lot of money going into that and to rescue and to fire. And with our, you know, I'm getting away from that, but it's just one of those points that we'd like to see brought back in if you get administration in. We just like round it up a little bit and take care of things, because we understand that deputies have packages and benefits and all that. We've got to look after that, just like we have to look after public works.
Absolutely.
Just like we have to pay the commissioners.
Yep. EMS. You got to take care of EMS and fire guys.
We do.
Just as important.
We do. And, you know, it's a changing landscape because just across the way, Clement Rescue Squad closed up a couple of years ago. You know, and that department had been there since 1981 or 2. And it closed because of lack of volunteers. So we're in a changing landscape. It's no longer that people are volunteering to do these jobs that, you know, we're having to pay. And I know the school system's having trouble with the same things over there. It's a terrible situation. But, you know, when we talk about those, the budget, and we've talked about drugs a little bit, one thing we have talked about with our other interviewees has been SROs in the schools.
Okay.
Do you see, I know we had now, they've clarified me on that. We have one in every school now.
That's correct.
We have one in every school. And most of that money is either grant or county supplements and stuff like that. So that's not coming out of that budget.
Right.
But they're administered by the sheriff's department. Do you see anything there that might interest the people in the area of what some things that Tracy Jackson would do with SROs and school safety?
We got to take care of our kids. Mm-hmm. Got to take care of our schools and our teachers. That's a great group of guys that are SROs. A lot of experience there. They kind of got a bad rap when it first started with the school resource officers. A lot of people would say, "Well, that's where everybody goes to retire." Or that's where, but it's not true. It's a very important position, and I can't think of anything much more important than our kids or the staff at the school trying to take care of them. Great training, great officers. I don't see any issues in them having to be decreased. You know, you could cut other places other than the schools. You got to take care of your kids. So.
Right. You know, there's always controversy, like in Cumberland County, the sheriff's department pulled out of the municipalities.
Right.
And so those little departments had to pick up, which in Sampson County.
You just had the city of Clinton taking care of Clinton City schools.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Because Garland doesn't have a police force anymore.
No, they don't. The
Roseboro,
county.
does Roseboro have a?
No, they disbanded their police department.
Okay.
15, 20 years
I was
ago
about to
now.
say,
Probably.
I
It's been a while ago.
one, yeah.
It's been a while ago.
Right.
Maybe longer than that, but I would say 15, 20 years at least. So the sheriff's office does take care of all the county schools.
Okay. Right.
And then the police department takes care of the Clinton City schools.
Clinton City. Okay. Is there anything that technology-wise that you'd like to see implemented within the department? This may not be going on now.
I haven't worked full-time at the Sampson County Sheriff's Office in 10 years. I don't know really much about their technology. I know they have some nice equipment.
Okay.
I would feel it's all up to date technology-wise. Their weapons are up to date. Hadn't been long ago they got new weapons with optics on them. I know that as a firearms instructor, that's just, we see that kind of stuff, the gadgets we see.
Yeah.
So I know that they've updated their weapons. I know they have some nice equipment. I think they do a lot of training through the community college. So without being hands-on and in the door, it's hard for me to say, what they need. And that's, if elected, that's one of those things you sit down with the guys, with the boots on the ground guys, and you say, hey, there's nobody in here but us. Tell me what you need. What do you need to make your job better? Because if we're not careful in an agency that size, and in any agency really when you become an administrator, if you're not careful, you lose touch with the people with the boots on the ground. It's easy for us to, when you're not there anymore, it's easy to say it got handled or it got done or, take care of it. But if you're not careful and you don't get out of the office and you don't really get involved with the boots on the ground guys, you lose touch with what's going on. And they're the ones that make things happen.
That's for sure.
They're the ones out here every day fighting and risking their lives. And, you need to know what they need. So that's one thing to do if elected is just sit down and say, hey guys, tell me what you need. What can I do to make your job better? What can we do to make your life easier? What do you need that you don't have? So to answer your question, some of that would be left up to the guys with the actual boots on the ground and say, hey, we need to sit down and talk. And it's just, let's talk open. What do you need?
We were just discussing earlier before we started the drugs. Well, the jail, most of the guys that you look at in there, or not say guys, ladies and guys, if you look through the rap sheets on there when they're booked, a lot of it is drugs, paraphernalia, dwellings, drugs, larceny, drugs. It used to, I don't know, as a kid, most of it, was maybe driving intoxicated or maybe spousal abuse, but now it seems that most of them are drugs. Is that a fair representation of what goes on in this county? Is it that rampant?
Drugs drive crime. And let me explain that. So someone who's suffering from addiction, they're going to do whatever they got to do.
Yes, sir.
To get high, to get drunk, whatever their addiction is. So if that means breaking in houses, and that means larceny, or that means fighting, or that means murder, or that means fraud, or whatever they have to do, shoplifting, whatever it is, to get what they need to keep their addiction driven, that's what they're going to do.
Right.
So what do we do about it? I had released a video earlier in the campaign about a plan with that. And the way to address that is every family in this county, if you sit down and talk to them, at some point has been affected by addiction. We've all either had a family member, a family member, whatever it may be. All of us at some point have been faced with that. What do we do? Well, running them in and out of the jail isn't necessarily helping everything. We're institutionalizing people, and that's what we're doing. We've got to work with our local judges, prosecutors, the DA's office, probation, parole, wherever counselors want to help, faith-based, rehabilitation centers, whatever we can do to get us on board. And when we got these folks, and I can tell you enough about addiction through work and Hope Center stuff through the Journey Church and Hope Center, but I can tell you enough about working with those guys and ladies suffering from addiction that if they don't want help, you're not going to get them help. They got to want to change. But there's a lot of them that really are tired of the lifestyle and they want to change. Yeah. So, when we got them incarcerated, we got them in jail, we're working through their court system. What's wrong with saying, hey, Your Honor, how about instead of a year in prison, how about a year at a rehab center? Or how about a way that we can work together with you to maybe rehabilitate these folks? And in the long run, we're saving taxpayers money because they're not going to be in and out of jail. Our crime rate's going to fall. Families are going to be happier. Robinson County Sheriff's Office actually does a program, they call it SAFE. And I can't tell you exactly what it stands for off the top of my head, but they sponsor, it's kind of like their own agency-sponsored rehab kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So they have a deputy assigned that actually works with the inmates that won't help, and they try to find them and place them in certain places. And if you can go to their website, their Facebook page, whatever, you'll see, well, they have a lot of good success stories from it. So drug dealers need to go to jail.
Yeah.
In each state. I don't want anybody to say, hey, he's being soft on that, because I'm not. If you're selling dope, you need to go to jail. But the ones who won't help, we need to try to help. We've got to look at what's working and what's not. And right now, just running people in and out of jail is not working.
It's not working.
It's just not working. So we've got to try to find something that works. Is that the answer? I don't know. But we got to try something that works.
Well, even if it fails, we're trying.
Right.
It's trial and error.
Absolutely.
And you talk about them wanting to change their lifestyles when they hit rock bottom.
Right.
You know, they need a hand up. And that's where we have to go back to our faith, like the prodigal son, and wrap them in a robe and give them a ring.
That's right. And you know,
We
everybody
try to help them.
Everybody deserves a second chance, third chance,
They do.
fourth chance, whatever it is. And again, I don't want it to come across as, oh, he's soft on drugs, he's not saying it. No, I'm not saying that. The key word is accountability. And when you commit a crime, you got to be held accountable.
Yes.
That's the law. You need to be held accountable. But what I'm saying is there's got to be some fine line, something we can work together with the district attorney and the prosecutors and the defense attorneys. There's got to be something we can come up with to see if it works. But not trying anything is definitely not work.
No.
If you don't try, I can promise you it's not going to work.
That fails every time it's
Every
tried.
time.
Yes.
Every time.
Yes. Well, you know, we're losing clerk of court, and Mr. Pham,
Right.
and we're going to have a new clerk of court come the end of the election on March 3rd because there's no Democratic opposition.
Okay.
So we'll know who the clerk of court is going to be real quick. That's an important office with your job. It is in working with that office to get those people out of, once you get them in, you've got to get them in and prosecute them or get them through the judge. Is there, I don't know a lot about this myself, but is there a lot of work between the sheriff and the clerks, and how does that work with the system?
So we're there every day. Courthouse security is
You guard the
ours, the
courthouse.
bailiffs, courthouse security. So we're there. So every day we're going to have deputies working with clerks and deputy clerks and everyone in the office. So yeah, it would be, you would need a good working relationship between, you would want the clerk to be able to pick up the phone and call the sheriff and say, hey, sheriff, I need this, I need that. And at the same time, you would want the sheriff to say, hey, Madam Clerk, can you help me with this?
Right.
So yeah, and I think the key to anything in leadership is relationships. You got to build relationships with people, whether it's at the clerk's office or it's at the country store. If it's in a community, you know, it's about relationships and it's about talking and wanting to help people and working together.
Well, you know, Mikasa Melvin with the Board of Education made a very good point about the SROs in the fact that they're in that school now from the time the kids start to the time they graduate. So they become familiar with someone in a uniform. And as like I told him, you know, we were busy in high school trying to run from that guy in the uniform. And here, you know, you are, and these kids are coming up to them and they have relationships with them. He spoke about seeing one at the courthouse the other day. A former student. So they're, you know, communication, what you're saying out in the community, it would be nice if we could see our deputies a little more. have communication with them.
Right. So, and this is one thing, if you're not careful with an agency the size of the sheriff's office, if you're not intentional about it, you can lose the community relationship side of things. And it's very easy to do because we all stay so busy, everything going on. But the SROs are a great point of community contact, especially with the kids. Those guys do a great job. But yeah, it would be, when I was a detective, the years I was in investigations, one thing I would do is I would go sit around the stores and I would talk and I would ask questions. And here's why. What you see in your neighborhood, I don't see in my neighborhood, if that makes sense.
Exactly.
So I know what's suspicious in my neighborhood, and I know what belongs and what doesn't. I don't know what's suspicious in your neighborhood. I don't live here. Mm-hmm. So at some point in time, I got to say, hey, what's going on? Y'all see anything any different hanging out? And you'll be amazed what you can get just sitting around talking to people and building relationships.
I remember, 20 years ago or so, one of the deputies was at the fire department and we were all talking. And he said, well, we would get the drug dealers if we knew where they were. And one of the guys said, well, hop in the truck and let me take you and show you. Right. And they did. And next thing you know, there were some dust. But, that's one thing, too. Fire departments are a good source on the ground.
Absolutely.
Utilizing that. We discuss that a lot in our little groups. I guess you would call them small groups now or whatever.
Right.
But we're just old men sitting around punching holes in the air with our fingers and talking about
solving world problems.
Exactly. But, communication with these deputies, we talked about that. Aaron and I were talking about that in one of our videos about how, like Wayne Danehart's retiring,
mm-hmm.
Timmy Bass is retiring. Well, we know those guys. Some of the newer deputies, I don't know.
Right.
I don't have any personal contact with them. We would just like to see you if you become sheriff, to maybe help to re-bond that to the community.
Absolutely. Community relationships are so important. And, we should be not only more involved in the community, but, we used to do Special Olympics torch run. When I worked with Dunn Police Department, we did a lot raising money for Special Olympics throughout community events and fundraisers and that kind of stuff. And there's other things you can do, like Salemburg's got a big food bank.
Yes, they do.
And there's a lot of other charities and opportunities to raise money to help the community here that we should really need to get involved with.
Like you say, making those connections.
Absolutely. And being intentional. You have to be intentional because if you're not, those connections aren't going to make themselves.
No. If you don't do something with the information you're being given, because, we talk about informants and all this stuff. Well, the guy at the store is just as good an informant as someone ratting out a drug dealer. Because a lot of those old guys down at the grill or the store will know what's going on, and they do it with pretty good certainty.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
They're all in cahoots, as we say.
Yeah, but relationships build that trust.
Exactly.
And you got to have that community trust to make the community safer for everybody.
Exactly. One thing that we have discussed in the past, and we looked at it with the Mingo Grange, was our Grange in the late 70s was very active in neighborhood watch.
Mm-hmm.
We looked at that. I think Mr. Fan started that up. God, that had to have been after 76. But I think our Grange was involved. I think all the Granges that were around at the time got involved in that. And I remember as a kid, the neighborhood watch and the little green signs,
right.
and patrol by neighborhood watch. And I don't know if I actually ever went with anybody on patrol, but that was there. People were looking. People were doing. And back then, it was Mr. Cranford and maybe a dozen more people on the staff. It wasn't like it is now.
Right.
We looked into that, and the legalities of going into that were, we'd have to hire a full-time staff of lawyers to keep ourselves out of jail.
Absolutely.
But is there something that we could do as a community to work with Jackson administration and sheriff to maybe at least keep eyes on the ground here?
You just talked about the Grange Day. And there's a lot of other civic organizations in this county, not just the Grange. You got the Ruatan Club, Rotary Club, Lions Club, I guess you could, Kiwanis, mm-hmm. You could keep on naming them. Those are the kind of organizations that not just me, staff, needs to be involved in and needs to go to monthly meetings and needs to say, hey, y'all need me? What can we do for you? And it doesn't have to be, this is a large county.
Yes.
And one person's not going to join every civic group.
No.
But you can have people in your area. Maybe you've got a neighbor that lives near your grange. Maybe there's a deputy that lives out this way. You know, those are the kind of things we need to get involved, and it helps your grange grow.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it builds that relationship and gives you somebody to call if you see something suspicious going on in your neighborhood. So there's a lot of different things we could do to really get involved with our local civic groups to make it happen. But it all goes back to building relationships.
It does.
It all goes back to building relationships and building trust in the community.
Well, the whole relationship thing goes back to we don't talk to our neighbors anymore. You know?
I would tell you probably most people watching this video don't know their neighbors.
No. No.
I mean, just being honest.
I agree with that.
I know mine because it's my son. But other than that, you know, I mean.
Right. Well, I know my neighbors because most of them have lived here for 40 plus years.
Yeah.
But when I go a quarter mile down the road, I don't know anybody. I understand that. When my grandmother used to look out the kitchen window across the road, she could see the grocery barn from there. There was nothing else. And if somebody pulled into my aunt's yard, the phone was off to, who's at your house?
Mm-hmm.
You know, she kept an eye. And I'll never forget, I think it was Luther Sampson Jackson told me on the Clement Rescue Squad, I said, Mr. Luther, I didn't hear where we were headed. He said, son, it's okay. If we make a wrong turn, somebody's going to call and tell us we're on the wrong road. We need to be 2 roads over. They're listening to the scanner. And it was God's honest truth.
Right.
They knew, they watched. And we've lost a lot of that.
Absolutely.
We really have. You know, when it was going on, we said, that's horrible. They're watching me all the time. They know what I'm doing. They know where I'm at. Them old heads were watching me and saying, look at that boy. He's a disgrace. now nobody cares. And that's kind of a shame, really. Yeah. It is. Even though I thought they were being nosy, I think it was out of a place of love and attention.
It was.
And,
You know, it goes back to when we were growing up. Everybody used to say it takes a village to raise a child. Mm-hmm. Where's our village going? Well, you know, our village is kind of separated from us a little bit. And you got to be intentional to try to bring us all back together as a community and see what we can do to make our whole county safer.
I agree with that. Now, if I'm not mistaken, this is your first campaign.
It is.
So, has it been all sunshine and roses?
No.
Too long? Come on, man.
No, it's I'll tell you, you know, yeah, believe it or not, politics is not all sunshine and roses. Yeah, several things. I've met a lot of people in this county. Really, really good people in this county.
Yes.
I don't care what part of the county you're from. There's good people in all around this county. I tell everybody that I'm not a politician, and I'm not. I'm a law enforcement officer. So, you know, you're like, well, why are you run for sheriff if you're not a politician, right? That's the next question you're going to ask.
Yeah.
Well, it gets into a service side of it, you know, and it's bigger than politics. It's more about, you know, I'm here to serve. I want to be the head law enforcement officer in this county because I want to make this a better and safer county. This is where I grew up. This is where my children and my grandchildren live too. You know, so I've got a vested interest in this. The sheriff is an elected official. He is the chief law enforcement officer in the county. Constitutional powers of what he's got to do.
Right.
But I would love to move it more toward the chief law enforcement side of this thing than the political side of it. The job of the sheriff is to run the sheriff's office. Mm-hmm. And now the job of the sheriff, there's some political attachments to it, you know. You have to be in the community. You have to know people. You have to be hands-on. But again, at the same time, it's like we talked about earlier. You got to get out of the office sometimes, and you got to meet with the boots on the ground guys. Mm-hmm. Even as the sheriff, you can't forget where you come from. And so that's kind of my thing with that. Can politics get ugly? Yes, it can. But it's okay. You learn from it. You grow from it. You move from it. but I'm not. I'm just not a politician. You know, I tell everybody that. I may not be the smooth talker. I may not be the, the most polished guy to get up and talk, but
Well,
I know how to be a law enforcement officer.
well, if you build relationships,
Right.
the rest comes with it
Absolutely.
as you go.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think so. And you are right that you need to be out and you need to be seen by the people. I think I read somewhere recently where sheriff was probably one of the first county offices, and it goes back to England. The high sheriff,
Right.
the sheriff from Nottingham.
Mm-hmm.
We remember him from school, but same thing here, and it's been a long tradition. I think that's probably one of the oldest offices we have as far as a local office.
It's actually the only law enforcement officer guaranteed by the Constitution.
By the Constitution.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Is the elected sheriff of the county.
The sheriff of the county. And you are right. This is a large county. There's a lot of different personalities. There's a lot of different enclaves and different types of people.
Right.
But as I talked with some of my friends down in Harold's, I believe it was last spring, we started discussing things, and we talked about drugs, we talked about crime, and we talked about taxes, and we talked about county water, and we talked about all these little things that we grumble about up here. And to my chagrin, I found out they grumble about it too.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have a lot in common. And, I believe you're right. Not one soul in the southern end of the county is less important than anybody up here.
No, everyone in this county should feel safe in their home.
They should. They should. And that's a shame that we've gotten away from that. Well, as far as we've talked about a great deal of things, it's been wide ranging. Is there anything that Tracy Jackson sees that we haven't talked about that once you get that badge, that occurs, and you get the lumberyard presents you with your new 4x4, and you're riding around like Buford Pusser? What's something that Tracy Jackson would like to see done? A pipe dream that you have, something, a goal, ambition. What would you like to do as sheriff?
I think building the community relationships back. I think we're not careful with an agency that size. The way it's grown, we lose that. I would love to see us grow our own cops, if that makes sense. Grow our own law enforcement officers. Now, how do we do that, right? You talked about earlier, you got SROs in the schools.
Mm-hmm.
Great men and women, mentors in the schools. The state of North Carolina actually offers something called a Law Enforcement Fellows Program, sponsored through Criminal Justice Training Standards. Just like the Teaching Fellows Program, basically.
Didn't know that.
A lot of people don't. A lot of people don't know about this because we don't do a good job advertising it.
Yeah.
But if you've got a young man, young lady who's coming out of high school who thinks, hey, maybe criminal justice is what I want to do, what they get's a associate's degree to a community college, scholarship to go. At the end of that, basic law enforcement training is included in that scholarship program. And once they become sworn and stay sworn for a certain period of time, it's waived, just like the teaching fellows.
Okay.
So, it's something that we need to look at. Hey, maybe we need to get in our schools and our high schools, and we need to start trying to grow the next generation. Because, believe it or not, me and you aren't going to be here forever.
Yeah.
A long time ago, I didn't believe that, but the older I get, the more I know I'm not going to be here forever. But it's my job now to teach them how to do my job. And I think as a sheriff, it should be your job to teach the next generation how to be the sheriff when you're not here, or how to be a law enforcement officer. And that's why I love teaching, like at community college and BLET and stuff. I love instructing and just watching. It's kind of like coaching football. You see them years later and they call you by name.
Right.
You remember me, right? Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. I remember. Yeah.
How could I forget you?
But yeah, So there's a lot of things we could do in our community, but I think one of the keys is investing in the future of this community.
Well, then that's part of the whole building a relationship.
Right. It all goes back to relationships.
You're passing the baton to the next generation.
Right.
And so much of that in our little culture we've lost.
Absolutely, we've lost that.
You know, we sound like we're living in Raleigh the way we're reminiscing about the old days, but if we're not careful, that could be our fate at some point with all the developments and all the people coming in. And if we don't teach them to be good Sampsonians,
right,
they're going to continue to be what they were when they came here. And isn't that what they were getting away from?
Yeah, most of them came here to get away from it.
That used to be the big thing. Well, all these Yankees are moving in. Okay. Well, they come down here and they run for the Board of Education. And they get on that, and then the next thing you know, they're wanting a roundabout somewhere. And you know, and what have we seen lately? We see roundabouts everywhere. We see four-way stop signs. And and what is it? My father-in-law always says, not a tollway. He had a word for it. I can't recall it. But about the paved roads up in Raleigh, we got to have them. We got to have those. And now all of a sudden we have a plethora of paved toll roads.
Right.
And my granddaddy would have cussed somebody about having to pay a toll. I'm not going through Richmond, son. This is North Carolina.
Right.
Tobacco paid for these roads.
That's right.
So here we are. But you're right. It's great to have that thought about bringing up the next generation. They'd be looking all the time, right? It's just like coaching.
Absolutely.
You're looking for that next generation of talent all the time. So that sounds great. And with that being said, now Sampson Community has its own law enforcement.
Yes, they do their own basic law enforcement.
Basic law enforcement. Now, does the sheriff's department, as far as do they work directly with them, or is that a whole separate thing? I mean, they don't do ride-alongs or
I'm sure they do a ride-along
internships or anything of that nature.
So they do, and they'll hire a lot. A lot of the local cadets that are graduated from our program are hired locally through the police department or the sheriff's office. Some choose to go somewhere else. It's kind of BLET, the basic law enforcement program, has kind of changed a lot in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
A lot of people now are pre-hired cadets. Agencies will pre-hire them and send them and pay them to go. Highway Patrol's doing that through community college now too.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Highway Patrol they've run cadets through Sampson Community College. When they graduated, they take them and once they're certified and pass the state exam, they go through their short school instead of their long school.
Okay.
So in the big picture of that, it saves them money from housing and feeding them for extra months.
Okay.
So yeah, it's kind of changed, but most of our local hires come from our community college system.
Okay. I'm going to ask a question that I really don't know. The Justice Academy, and that's in Sailorburg.
Right.
That is basically just to do continuing type education for
Yes, that's more advanced training.
Right. Okay.
So they don't run a basic program through Sailorburg anymore. Most of the basic programs are run through community college system.
Okay.
Or if you got larger agencies such as Cumberland County Sheriff's Office, they run their own. Fayetteville PD might run their own. Raleigh PD. Some of your larger agencies, they're probably going to run their own academies.
Yeah.
But they're pre-hired cadets. So, but most of our hires come from our own community college.
Okay. Well, that's good information. We hear about these programs, but we don't know actually how they're functioning or working unless we have a cadet in our midst, and most of us don't anymore. Okay. Well, is there any parting advice, any parting words you have for us?
Get out and vote.
Get out and vote.
Get out and vote. A lot of people don't think primaries are important. But you said a while ago the clerk's race will be decided.
It is.
And I think I don't know if there's any other local races. There's a lot of contested local races. But people just need to get out and vote. They need to exercise their rights. It's easy to sit around and complain about things.
Yes, sir.
But we don't want to get out and vote when it's time to go vote.
Yes, sir.
So I just encourage everyone, just get out and vote. Exercise your right.
Well, the thing in Sampson County is that the Republican Party has been so successful in the last 20, 25, 30 years, 40 years, that we're now infighting. And it comes down to primaries between Republicans. And so when that race is over, it's pretty much a settled deal. This is the first time. I know there have been Democratic candidates for sheriff before. Mr. Edwards will be sitting out there waiting for whoever wins this race.
That's correct.
But they've not really been, say, competitive races. So we have a party where we're trying to turn on ourselves. We're almost cannibalizing ourselves. So this is great that we do have a good race this time, and we'll have a candidate waiting in the wings to see where we go. But you're right. Vote early, vote often. No, I'm not supposed to say that.
That's what Lyndon Johnson said anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it is important to get out and vote. That's constitutional.
Absolutely. You got to get out and vote. Early voting through Saturday at 3 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
And then Tuesday's election day.
Tuesday's
Everybody
election
needs to turn out and vote.
all day long.
All day long. Rain, sleet, or snow.
Yes, sir. And we're looking for a good turnout at Mingo, and we hope that comes to fruition. And we hope that when this is over, win, lose, or draw, we could get you back on. We could talk about the campaign again,
Absolutely.
see how it went, kind of parse it out a little bit, and see where we go from there.
Sounds great. Thanks
That's
for
great.
having me.
Thank
I
you
really
so much.
appreciate it.
We appreciate
Yes,
it.
sir. Thank you.
And for all you folks that have been listening to our little series, we appreciate it. The Mingo Grange is doing this. We're not burning the internet up. The servers are not shutting down because of our show. But we are having a great impact. We're seeing a lot of movement within our websites and within our YouTube channel and our Facebook page. And we thank you for making that possible. Mingo Grange is coming to you to bring you these candidates so that you can get to meet them on a one-on-one basis, hear a little bit about what they have to say. And it's so much better than sending out a mailer or a news clip or just a short somewhere. You actually get to hear these people talk. And that's what we're trying to do. So just remember to like and subscribe our little channel if you would, please. And we'll be back with more after March 3rd. We hope to have some lighter topics for a little while. And then we're going to get back into some good things because the budget will be coming up very soon. And we intend to be there to discuss that for you in the community. We thank you so much, and join us again next time on In the Short Rows.